Welcome to the Real Lost Boss podcast.
Hello, welcome to episode 59 of the Real Lost Boss podcast. How to tackle the social side of weight loss. It's something we all struggle with on our weight loss journey. It's certainly something that I really struggled with at the start of my weight loss journey, though I'm going to tell you what I did about it. Kind of a big thing of this podcast, which hopefully will help you. But yeah, it's certainly something I struggled with at the start of my weight loss journey. It's something my clients struggle with when they first come on plan with me. And it's certainly something I know a lot of people struggle with from the feedback or the questions I get, should I say, from my social media lives. And that is kind of balancing life and weight loss and the social side of life. It's important, but no diets teach us how to balance life and weight loss. They're just solely focused on the approach, sin in food, don't eat carbs, blah, blah, blah. How do you fit that into actually having a life and enjoying our lives? And having a social life is really, really important. Whether you want one or not, there's always going to be occasions that come up, or should I say whether you want them to or not, there's always going to be occasions that come up throughout the year where we have to attend. It's not a case of, right, I'm just not going. Don't get me wrong. Some of you out there might be like, no, Neil, I'm, an absolute hermit. But for most of us, yeah, there's things that we need to attend, and we need to build that into our weight loss journey. A lot of people don't like to think of weight loss like this, but you need to. And if you're losing weight in the right way, it actually won't bother you. But weight loss can take a while. I always say get into your mindset. However many pounds you've got to lose, that's going to take you that many weeks. So if you're sat there now and you're like, I want to lose 100 pounds, 7 stone, that's going to take you 100 weeks. If you lose it any sooner, absolute bonus. But if it does take you 100 weeks, in that time, you are definitely going to have some things cropped up that you either need to or you want to go to. And again, another one of my big sayings is you can't choose life or weight loss, because if you do, you're going to fail at both. If you're just weight loss, never eating a takeaway ever again, never going out ever again, never doing this, never doing that until I get to my goal, you're going to fail on your weight loss journey because it's unsustainable. You're going to crash and burn way before you get anywhere near that goal that you're aiming for. But if you go the other way, forget weight loss, I'm just going to live my life to the fullest, you're going to fail at life, because ultimately your weight issue is going to take over and you're going to end up miserable, unhealthy, unhappy, Life and weight loss need to run side by side. You need to integrate them in. And in this podcast, I'm going to tell you how to do that in terms of social situations. So what I'm going to talk about here is a night out, a christening, an all-day wedding, a celebration. I'm not necessarily talking about long weekends away, holidays or anything like that. They might be, don't get me wrong, some of the things I'm going to talk about, there will be a bit of a crossover, and how we handle longer situations like 3-4 nights away or a full week's holiday. Yeah, like I said, there's a bit of a crossover, but what I'm specifically going to be talking about is, social events. So your best mate's birthday, your best mate's stag do, let's say all-day wedding, christening, mum and dad's wedding anniversary, things like that. Things that are just a day or at the most an overnight thing. Because they're the most common, really. They crop up or will crop up more often than, a holiday's once or twice a year. And I've done content on holidays before, podcasts on holidays before. Maybe I'll do a refresher on them. But I don't think I've ever done something that looks at tackling social situations. So let's get into it. The start of my weight loss journey, this is something I struggled with. You know, I wasn't always a weight loss coach. I didn't always have the answers. Trust me, I don't always have the answer now. I am still learning as I go along. But I'm 11 years in and I've learned a hell of a lot. And a lot of the things I put into practice has helped me massively be so consistent. That's helped me made my journey sustainable. We'll get there in the end. It's also massively helped my one-to-one personal training clients when I was a PT. It's also massively helped my online weight loss coaching clients. And it's also massively helped a lot of people that just maybe follow me through social media, my podcasts and things like that. I get lots of people all the time commenting from following your videos, using some of your recipes, taking your ideas on board from your podcast. I'm X amount down. I'm, so on and so forth. So that's great. I'm losing my train of thought here. Not like you, Neil. Anyway, let's get back into it. Where was I? I have no idea. Anyway, something I struggled with at the start of my journey. Yeah, I've not always been like where I'm at now. And something I struggled with at the start of my journey was trying to balance life and weight loss. But I knew I had to. I went into my weight loss journey wanting to do it differently than I'd ever done it before. And I knew in the past I'd always done the old, right, I need to lose weight. If it's John's birthday, Dave's birthday, mum's birthday, best mates, kids, Chris, whatever, I tried to dodge them. I tried, I'm busy, I'm washing my hair and all this nonsense. And in the end, you just can't do it because sometimes I've not seen my mates for a few months. I really want to see them. I really want to catch up. And I'm not saying every social event needs to be calorific. I'll talk about that shortly. But sometimes it's nice just to let your hair down, even on your weight loss journey. So I took an approach to social events and, I've always took that approach over the last 10 years. I've tweaked it a little bit, looked at it a little bit differently. And as always trying to progress and adapt and get better. So what I do now might not be exactly what I did 10, 11 years ago, but it's all kind of derived from that first sort of, ideas that I had. Anyway, why it's important to understand and learn these things is positivity. Negativity is a big part of weight loss. It's something that really drags us down. It can be a massive trigger for things like emotional eating, self-sabotage and stuff like that. So if we go into everything with the right mindset, it just makes weight loss much more pleasurable, really. And it makes you feel more positive. It makes you feel like you are progressing. You're not doing things wrong. You're not being too hard on yourself. You're not beating yourself up. And that is a big part. Big part of my weight loss coaching, a big thing I do with my clients isn't just, here's your calories, here's your steps, off you pop. A bigger part is changing mindset, getting people to look at weight loss in a different way, a more positive way, working on emotional issues that lead us to overeat. I've always said this and it'll never change. Obesity, weight issues are a mental health disorder. That is where they are at. Weight loss is won and lost in our heads. So this podcast will help you, look at social events in the way you should be looking at them. You should be looking forward to them. It's your best mate's wedding. You should be just absolutely buzzing for the weekend. You probably still are buzzing for the weekend. But there's, something pouring a little bit of water on the flame. Guilt. Oh, God, you've done so. I can't wait for Chantel's wedding on Saturday. It's going to be amazing. But, oh, God, we're going to be drinking Prosecco at 6 a.m. We're going to be having bacon sandwiches. There's going to be nibbles. There's going to be cheesecake in the wedding breakfast. There's going to be cake at night time. This, that, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. For that one day, it doesn't matter. Again, I'll tell you why. But, this whole thing is about approach, positivity, looking at things in a different way. And no other fad diet. I'm telling you now, Babs, 7:30 Thursday night. She's not sat there with you in your local village hall after she's weighed you in and berated you for gaining half a pound and then said, right, what's going on this weekend? I've got my best mate's wedding on Saturday. Right, well, make sure, you stick to your 12 sins. Stick to me flipping 12 sins, Babs. I'll have done that in 3 glasses of Prosecco by flipping 7 in the morning while I'm having my hair done. What on earth are you going on about? No diet methods teach us how to incorporate life. Hiya, Mr. Keto Coach. I'm going to my mate's stag do for the weekend and I want to fully enjoy it. So how do I do that without eating carbohydrates? Well, just push your chips to one side. Just drink neat vodka and Diet Coke that's got no... Really? That's your option? That's the only option? Well, I'm sorry, we're going out for a pizza at night time, so, where do we go with that? Same with Mr. Intermittent Fasting Coach. Hello, Mr. Intermittent Fasting Coach. Same thing. Going on with mate stag do at the weekend. You only allow me to eat between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. Well, we're actually just going for a night out. Don't start till 7. So what do I do from 8 o'clock onwards? Well, you just drink water. Really? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can't do that. But is that really the reality? Is that the way we should be tackling things? Is that the way we should be looking at things? Is that the way for the rest of my life, every single thing I've got that starts from 7, 8 o'clock onwards, mum and dad's anniversary meal, my anniversary meal, my mate's stag do, just nipping down the pub and watching the footy, I can only drink water. And again, I'm not saying you can't do that, but really, is that what we want to do? No. Okay. So, social events. How do we handle them? First thing, I talk about this a lot, certainly with my clients, and I think I cover it quite a bit on my social media lives as well. We have to understand that there are better and worse times to lose weight, harder and easier times to lose weight. All right? Not every month's the same, not every week is the same, but we can look at different periods through the year, and this will all be different for everybody. But, what I class as an easier time to lose weight, and it's my favourite time to lose weight, it's January, February, March. It's absolutely top tier. Right? I love it. And it's always when I make the most progress. Why do I love January, February, March? Well, I've just had a 2-week, might be longer than that, but a 2-week period of overindulgence, at least from Christmas. So kind of high calorie days, unhealthy food days, or there's no such thing as unhealthy foods, just overall unhealthy diets, but less nutrient dense foods, should we say. Bailey's, Pringles. I've had it coming out of my ears for 2 weeks, so I'm kind of done. I'm ready to get back to a bit of a routine and a bit more of a kind of better eating pattern, as it were. Also, from Christmas, you spend a few quid. So you've also got the focus and the motivation of trying to pay off maybe a few quid that might be on a credit card, or you might have nipped into that overdraft a little bit, because they're all the same at Christmas. All becomes a little bit like Monopoly money at times. So we want to pay that back. A lot of people are doing the same thing, so there's a lot less temptation. And our social lives, certainly mine, January, February, is null and void. It is absolutely flat as a pancake. Don't get me wrong, I make it like that on purpose, but there isn't a lot of peer pressure. And I don't mean peer pressure should be something that sends you off course, but when I say peer pressure, I don't mean people nagging at you. That can be an issue. But, looking at Instagram and seeing people out and about in local beer gardens tempts you, right? You don't get that in January, February. Seeing people out having a nice meal, you don't really get that in January, February. So there's less temptation, should I say, and there is less activity on the old, mobile phone. All right, mate, what are you up to? Not a lot. Why? Sun shining. Yeah, I know it is. Fancy a couple down the pub? Oh, go on then. Very little of that in January, February. So, it's just a very good period of time for weight loss. Whereas you get into the summer months, June, July, August, social events take over. I want to be more social. My willpower to say no to going out in January, February is absolutely through the roof. My willpower for saying no to going out and doing stuff in July is, I've got the breaking strain of a soggy Kit Kat. I'm literally, what are you up to? Not a lot, pub, yep. I'm at the bar, mate, before you've even finished. Finished replying to me. I'm not quite that bad, but and then couple that with more people get married in summer, more people have events in summer. Things that might be quite small in winter tend to be bigger in summer. What do I mean by that? Well, Dane's birthday in January is meet down your local at 8 o'clock and have a couple of hours and a few frames and off you pop home. John's birthday in June is meet at Spoons at 11 for breakfast and then decide where we're going to go for the full day out sort of thing. You don't get that much in winter. More christenings in summer, more just friends. Saturday afternoon, weather's lovely. Think we're going to have a barbecue tonight. Do you fancy it? Do I? Do you need us to bring anything? Just yourselves and anything special that you might want to drink. We're on our way. Again, this is just personal to me. January, February, March, great for weight loss. April, May, June, a little bit tricky, bit more navigating needed. Mid-June really to mid-September, I just find it tough, yeah? And then kind of mid-September for the run-up to Christmas, decent. I find it a good period. Not quite as good as Jan, Feb, March, but probably my second favourite period. If I take this year, for example, 2025, Jan, Feb, March, I lost 2 stone over those 3 months. Since the beginning of April up until now, which is like mid-August, I've lost 8 pounds, which is April, May, June, July. So in 4.5 months, I'm 8 pounds down, whereas I was 28 in the first 3 months. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not a true reflection of actual weight loss. That's net loss. Because over that time, I've had a long weekend in Fuengirola where I gained 5 pounds, and I've had 9 days off from totally tracking, a week in Benidorm and a couple of days at the end of it, where I gained about 7 pounds of body fat. So I've gained 12, and so I've lost that, and about 8.5 on top. So I'm actually over those 4, I've lost over 20 pounds. But net loss is 8, whereas net loss January, February, March was 28, So that's just relative to me. And when it is a harder time to lose weight or a tougher time or a more trickier time, however you want to look at it, I don't want you to sit there and go, oh, well, weight loss is just impossible, right? It isn't. It just might mean, I've still lost over the last few months. It's just, you've got to lower your expectations. And by doing that, it keeps you positive. I could sit there and go, oh, I lost 28 pounds first 3 months. If I'd carried on like that, I'd be another 40 pounds down the next, and I'm only 8. I'm letting myself, you're not letting yourself down. Life's just took over a little bit, right? It's what we do over time. I'm 36 pounds down for the year so far. And by the end of 2025, I probably could be up to 50 pounds. I might lose another stone by the end of the year. 50 pounds down, that's amazing progress, right? There's always going to be peaks and troughs. So we need to get into our mind that there's better and worse times to lose weight, easier or harder times. There's no such thing as a time where I can't lose weight, right? There isn't. And we do need to counterbalance a little bit. When it's a good time, make hay while the sun shines. When it's a trickier time, we just need to navigate and do the best we can. We will get periods where social events seem to be a bit overwhelming. We might have several weekends in a row where, you've got your best mate's wedding and then your partner's best friend's, your best mate's birthday and then your partner's best friend's birthday and you're invited to both, then you might have, an all-day wedding, and then you might have the weekend after mum and dad's wedding anniversary. And when this happens, it can be a case of, what do I do? Here's what you do. You've got to make some compromises. When we have a lot on all at once, you've just got to look at it and, you've got to decide, what am I going to fully enjoy and what am I going to rein in a little bit? Some people want magic when it comes to weight loss. I'm not going to sit here now and go, if you've got 10, events in a row over summer, I'm going to tell you now how to go and enjoy every single one. Eat all you want to, drink all you want to, live life that you feel is living life to the fullest. And at the end of it, you'll still be a stone down. That ain't happening, right? I'll teach you how you can still make progress. Might be a little bit lower or slower than we'd want it to be, but you can still make progress and still enjoy life and feel like you're not missing out. I always say this with weight loss. You're always going to have to make some compromises, but you should never feel like you're making sacrifices. If you feel like you're making sacrifices, it's going to drag you down. Again, positivity is key. If you feel like you're making sacrifices, negativity. Sacrifices are negativity. Compromises are positivity. It still gives you something to look forward to, something to aim at. If you constantly feel like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I've missed out on this, I've missed out on that, eventually life will win and you'll forget about weight loss. And like I say, you've got to do both together. So you've got to make some compromises. So those 4 events that I've just said there, how do we make some compromises? Well, it was your best mate's birthday and your partner's best mate's birthday. Well, if it's your best mate, fully enjoy that one, right? Choose that as this is all guns blazing, we're going out. The weekend after, it's your partner. Your partner can go all out, and if you're going out for a meal, you might choose to be designated driver that week, right? Now, again, you might be like, oh, well, that's a sacrifice, Neil. It isn't when you've enjoyed the week before. And then the week after, when it's your best friend's wedding, you could have another big blowout. I'm sorry, if you think missing your best friend's birthday and just reining it in a little bit for one weekend, right, is missing out, then you need to change that mindset. After your best mate's wedding, it's your mum and dad's wedding anniversary. It's mum and dad's wedding anniversary. You're going out for a nice meal. Again, you can be designated driver. You can make some more informed choices off the menu. You might one glass of wine, one beer when you get there, but you're still designated driver. You might want to eat a full garlic bread with cheese for your starter because you've gone to Mimo's Italian or whatever. But no, I'm just going to have one slice of garlic bread and I'll have the mushrooms to start because I know they're going to be a little bit more calorie controlled than eating a full cheesy garlic bread. Instead of having a great big creamy pasta dish, I might have a steak and some potatoes and veg on the side, and then I'll split a pudding. Again, it's a compromise. You're still going out for a meal. You're still mingling with people. You're still chatting. You don't need to get hammered to have a good time. You don't need to have the most calorific dish on the menu to have a good time, right? Sometimes we want to do that, and that's what I'm saying. It's about finding a balance. You can do that with any social event. You can make a compromise. Even if you've not got loads coming up, you might just have one every 6 weeks, and you might be like, you could look at it and go, is this really going to be worth the calories if I go all out, all guns blazing? And, you might be like, not really. It's John's birthday, but I don't really know John. And he's a bit of a plonker, to be honest with you. So, do you know what? I think I'll just, they're going out to the pub 2 hours and then they're getting a taxi into town. I think I might just go to the pub for the 2 hours. And do you know what? I might sneak in a couple of non-alcoholics in between. Again, you might be slightly going, I don't want to do that. I want to go and drink 10 pints and then I want to get in a taxi. That's your choice, right? And once every 6 weeks, to be honest with you, you can do that. But you don't have to if you don't want to. You can make a more informed choice. But if you've got a lot all at once, there's some compromises that need to be made. So how do I tackle the week? Most events tend to be at a weekend, right? They do, let's be honest. You know, most things happen Friday night, most things happen Saturday night, don't they, or Saturday day. You might get the occasional Friday night thing. You might get the occasional Sunday thing, christening, or if it's a bank holiday weekend. But most things are Saturday night. And it's one day. And, you know, first of all, this is how I look at the week. So I'm fully appreciative in my mindset. There are better and worse times to lose weight. January, February, March was a better time, and I've made amazing progress. Since then, things have slowed down a little bit, but it's summer, it's more social, you know, weight loss is going to be a little bit slower. Things will calm down getting into September, October, and we'll go full steam ahead before Christmas. Positivity, your mindset's good. So, you know, I'm in a period of time where it's a bit trickier to navigate weight loss. So you don't get overwhelmed that you've got a few events all coming up. Then we've got to sort of look ahead and go, right, I'm going to fully enjoy that one. I'm going to fully enjoy that one. And those two, I'm going to rein it in a little bit. And that's all good. So we've made a little bit of a compromise where, you know, we're definitely going to have at least 2 pretty decent weight loss weeks in the next 4. And actually the weeks where I'm going to go all out, I could probably still lose a little bit of body fat. How, Neil? Well, I'm going to tell you. The beginning of the week, Monday, you always need to look ahead. Irrelevant of what's going on. I do this every Monday. What's going on this week? Nothing. Fine. Crack on as normal. Don't need to make any adjustments to anything. What's going on this weekend? Mum and Dad's wedding dinner, anniversary dinner. Right. Am I going all out? Is it a compromise event? Like I'm going to go, but I want to rein it in a little bit. Cool. Can I fit that into my ideal deficit? Well, do you know what? I know where we're going for food. I know what I can pick off the menu. Yeah, I can. What I'm going to do is, I always bank for the weekend anyway. I'm assuming you are following my philosophies for weight loss. If you're not, why not? Get on plan and I'll show you. All the details in the description of the podcast, by the way. I bank calories for the weekend anyway. So let's just say, for example, you're on 2,000 calories a day. And you normally bank 250 a day. Yeah? So you normally have 1,750 during the week. That banks you 1,250 to take into the weekend. You've got your daily average at the weekend, 2,000 Saturday, 2,000 Sunday, and then an extra 1,250 from what you've banked. Yeah. If you've got an event on, even if you're making a compromise, maybe it's a case of trying to bank a little bit extra. I recommend banking between 10 to 15% of your daily average to take into the weekend. Every now and then, can you bank 20%? Yeah. So my daily average is 2,000 calories a day. You always look at your calories as an average, not as a set daily amount limit. And I normally do 1,750. Well, for this week, I'm going to do 1,600. Yeah, that might be a little bit tricky, but eye on the prize, enjoying a meal out Saturday night, maybe 1 glass of wine, 1 beer, maybe even push it to 2 if you want to, but you're going to be designated driver. I'm not condoning drinking and driving, by the way. If you're going to drive, just have 1. Make sure you eat afterwards, and there's a couple of hours gone by before you get behind the wheel, before anyone starts commenting, you know, or, you know, you might actually be walking to the event. You might get a lift. Just because you get a lift doesn't mean, no, I can go and get blasted because I've not actually driven here. So we can, you know, you've looked ahead, you've made the decision. I'm going to compromise on this week. I'm going to bank a few extra calories. I'm still going to enjoy. I still wouldn't mind a carbonara at the Italian and a few pieces of garlic bread. So I'm just going to bank a little bit extra. If you do that, if you try and do around 1,600 a day instead of 1,750, it's only a little bit lower than what you normally do. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing in the world, but then you're taking 2,000 calories extra into the weekend. So you got 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. With 2,000, so you could have 3,500 Saturday, 2,500 Sunday. That'll give you a bit of extra flexibility and freedom. It doesn't matter how you eat your calories over the week. It doesn't matter if you eat 2,000 every day, 1,750 for 5 days, and then 3,000 one day, 3,250 the other day. It's 14,000. 2,000 a day is 14,000. 1,600 a day, and then 3,000 on on a Saturday, 3,000 on a Sunday. It's 14,000 a week. It's all 14,000 a week. So you manipulate calories, make them work for you. So when you compromise, you can still fit into your ideal calorie deficit. It just might mean making a few more informed choices, a little bit of a compromise of how you're going to tackle the evening, and maybe working at taking a few more calories into the weekend just to pay for that maybe slightly higher calorie meal that you're going to have on Saturday night. You stick to your ideal deficit, you're going to lose a pound, and you're still going to enjoy the night. You still will enjoy the night. And the next day you'll wake up buzzing. I had a great night. Would I have enjoyed it any more if I'd had 3 bottles of wine and woke up this morning absolutely hanging out my bum and just craving McDonald's breakfasts and KFCs and this, that? You wouldn't have done. Honestly, you wouldn't have done. I've been there. Don't get me wrong, I've been out and had some belting nights and woke up the next day and been like, I'm not feeling my best, but flipping out, what a great night. I've woke up so many times and just gone, this just isn't worth what I'm feeling. And I've done so many nights where I've actually been designated driver or just gone out and just had a couple, right? And really reined it in and then moved on to Diet Cokes halfway through the night. And I've woke up the next day and still had a brilliant night and probably actually had a better night than if I got plastered. So honestly, it can be done. So that's if you're making a compromise. So you're still going to go out, but you're just going to rein it in a little bit. Fit it into your ideal deficit the best you can. Now, that question you ask yourself on a Monday, what's going on this weekend? Mum and Dad's wedding anniversary dinner. No, we've already done that one. Let's do your best mate's birthday. It's Bob's birthday. All right, what are you doing for Bob's birthday? We're meeting at Spoons at dinner time. Chicken wrap and chips. Pint of Peretti. And then we're going to jump on the train and go to Manchester for a few hours. Just see what happens. Probably head back to nearer home at about 7 o'clock. Either come home, depending on how I'm feeling, or crack on. Very standard day out for me. That's why I described it. Right? Normally I'm like backdoor boogieing and I'm on my way home. But anyway, that's obviously going to be quite a calorific day. You know, a couple of drinks an hour, 500 calories, a few other bits and pieces that slip in, the odd shot here and there. You know, the old saviour of a double cheeseburger or two, which I've done many a time on a day out drinking. You know, slip into Mackey's when you're feeling it a little bit, get 2 double cheeseburgers, boom, straight back in the game. Right, it's going to be a bit more calorific. Can I fit that into my ideal deficit? Probably not going to happen. You've got to be honest with yourself. I don't think it is going to happen. Okay, how many more calories do I need? And this is where, again, you can make your calories work for you. You should know your maintenance calories, the amount of calories you burn on a day-to-day basis. That's your average calorie burn, right? All my clients, whether they're just in my community or they're on my plan, they know their calorie burn, they know their calorie allowance, they know the difference, and they know how to plan events. And if they decide to have 1,500 calories more than what they normally eat, they know that, yes, they've got more calories. They're going to have a smaller deficit, but they're still going to be in a 2,000 calorie deficit. Most of my clients, by the way, have a 3,500 calorie deficit a week. Not all, but most do. So you can make your calories work for you. You don't have to be in a 3,500 calorie deficit week in, week out. We'd like to be there more often than not, but we can have the odd week here and there where we might have a 1,750 calorie deficit, right? That gives you an extra 1,750 calories off the bat. You don't even need to work at banking those. You've just got those. That's a gift. It's a gift from me to you with the way I coach weight loss, right? And you then bank calories like you would do normally during the week. 2,000 calories a day. You're going to bank 250 a day. So you bank 1,250. And I'm having a smaller deficit. So I've got 1,750. So I've got 3,000 calories in a pot. Plus my daily average, 2,000. Can have 3,500 Saturday, 3,500 Sunday, 4,500 Saturday, 2,500 Sunday, and I'm still in a deficit, I'm still losing body fat. Yeah, it's going to be a slightly smaller deficit. It's going to be one that you'll lose half a pound of body fat. But if I'm going out with my mates for a few drinks throughout the day, an extra 1,750 plus what I bank. And if you wanted to, you could do like I said when we might do a compromise. You can bank a bit extra. 1,600 a day, Monday to Friday. That's 2,000 calories plus the 1,750 from having a smaller deficit. You got calories coming out your ears. You can still enjoy life and lose body fat. The results are going to be smaller. You've got to accept that. But that's the little trade-off. And that doesn't need to be week in, week out. Let's say you've got a big event on. Like, don't get me wrong, a day out, drinking all day is a big event. Let's go wedding. It's your best friend's wedding. You might be a bridesmaid. You might be a groomsman, right? You're a bridesmaid. Yeah, Saturday morning. As I've already said, you're having a couple of Prosecco's getting your hair done. Babs is telling you to sin him. I'm telling you, chuck them in the bin. Chuck your sins in the bin. Chuck calories in the bin. If you're sat there on a Monday and you ask yourself that question, what have I got on this week? I've got my best friend's wedding. Bridesmaids, all day Saturday. I'm not going to apologise. I'm going to be hungover on Sunday. Right? It is what it is. I'm going to be, knee deep in a couple of double sausage and egg McMuffins by 10 o'clock. That's after the hotel breakfast because we're staying overnight, and then am I going to be ordering, a salt and pepper munch box at 6 o'clock at night time? Damn right I am. In that event, what I would do personally is I would just go and enjoy the weekend. Now, if you want to track, you can track. That's entirely up to you. But Monday to Friday doesn't change. Monday to Friday, 2,000 calories a day. Normally bank 250, go for it. Can do like I said at the beginning of like planning these weeks. Bank, eat 1,600, eye on the prize. Take 2,000. At least, you've got a little bit of a buffer somewhere, and then just go and enjoy your weekend, right? The important thing is if you're going to do that, Monday morning comes around, bang, you're straight back on it. That enjoying the weekend, not tracking, not worrying about calories, worrying about, your best mate's wedding. Well, not worrying, just enjoying. You've got to free your mindset to be able to do that. And if it's all planned out, if it's all part of the journey, you'll stay positive while doing it. We have to be honest with ourselves. How often should we be doing weekends where we don't give a toss about calories? Again, peaks and troughs, different times of year, better and worse times to lose weight. But ideally, I wouldn't want more than 3 or 4 a year maybe, right? We can build these into other weight loss breaks. I'm not going to cover that in this podcast here because we can take weeks off tracking here and there. But, I would say, how many times do you go to all-day weddings where it's your best mate getting married? How many times do you do, a stag do, a hen do, Saturday? There's not that many, right? How many times can you do weekends where you have a smaller deficit? In all honesty, you can do as many as you want, but you do need to have an eye on health in a way because eating a bit more and, generally we're doing this drinking, eating more unhealthy foods might not be the best for our health. And, you've got to be prepared for it to slow down your journey. A lot of us are really impatient with weight loss as it is. I do actually say you can have your cake and eat it. But in this scenario, you can't have your cake and eat it sometimes. A lot of people say, can you drink alcohol and lose weight? Yeah. Can you enjoy life and lose weight? Yeah. But as I've said already in this podcast, there's got to be compromise somewhere along the lines. So, time of year where it's quite social, summertime, 1 in 2, that's not bad. 1 in 3 would be perfect, right? And again, you might have a couple of weekends in a row and then you might have a couple of weekends of doing nothing, yeah? So, yeah, look, you're still in a deficit. You're still losing body fat. Weekends where you make compromises, Again, you can have as many as you want, but don't make too many compromises. Why? Because if you make too many compromises, they will then become sacrifices. And we don't want to feel like we're missing out. You know, I've got 6 events in a row and I'm going to, eat a salad at every event. I'm going to drive to every event and drink 2 Diet Cokes at every event going forward. That's going a little bit to the extreme. If you want to do that, you do that. I'm not forcing anyone to enjoy a full weekend out, just like I'm not forcing anyone to make compromises. You've got to find your own balance that works for you. The last thing I'm going to talk about, we've covered positivity, understanding that there's going to be better and worse times to lose weight throughout the year. If it's a better time, make hay while the sun shines. If it's a worse time, just navigate through it the best you can and just lower your expectations a little bit on what you're expecting to see in terms of like what the scales are going to do. If we end up with a lot of social events all at once, have a look through, try and compromise a little bit. This one I'm going to fully enjoy. This one I'm going to, rein it in a little bit, try and find a little bit of balance. And then plan the weeks, plan the weeks running up to it. All this might sound a little bit overwhelming. It's like anything new. If you've never done it before, it might be a little bit, right, whoa. And this is, again, why it's good having a weight loss coach, because I get a lot of my clients, they'll check in with me on a Friday. Right, I've got this next week. How do I handle it? And I'll tell them. And eventually they stop asking me why, because they've learned how to handle different events, So if you are struggling again, come get on board and I won't do the hard work for you. You will always have to do the hard work, but I'll plan it out and I'll tell you how to do it. Plan your week. Ask yourself that question. Get into the habit of doing it every Monday. What's going on this week? Nothing. Nothing that won't fit into my normal calories. Just crack on. What's going on this week? Meal out. Birthday. It might not even be at the weekend. It might be during the week. Can I fit this into my ideal deficit? Be honest with yourself. Yes. Look at maybe banking a few extra calories, but, make it work. Can I fit this into my ideal deficit? No. Can I fit it into a smaller deficit? Yeah. What smaller deficit are we going to do? 1750 a week. An extra 250 calories a day. Stick that into your app. Change your calories from 2,000 a day to 2,250. But look at still sticking to 1750 Monday to Friday. And you'll have this lovely little pot extra going into the weekend. If it's just a bit like, I can't fit this into... you can take that up to maintenance if you want to. All right? 1,750 calorie deficit. No, I don't want any deficit, but I don't want a surplus either. Right. Work to maintenance calories. That gives you an extra 3,500 still. Track, stay accountable to it. If you have a weekend where you're just like, I don't even want to track, I don't even want to think about calories, I just want to think about making memories with my best friend because they're getting married, have a weekend off. You can do a few of those. It's absolutely fine. But again, just set yourself slightly lower expectations on what the scale's going to say at periods of time when this happens. Final thing, scales. Whether you choose to fit it into your ideal deficit, whether you choose to have a smaller calorie deficit, a maintenance week, or just not track for a couple of days, which might end up being in a bit of a surplus, what a lot of people do is such a big mistake when it comes to building social events into weight loss, is you go near a set of scales on a Monday. Please don't do that. Why? Whatever we do over the weekend, if we are making that compromise, banking extra Monday to Friday and going out for a nice slap-up meal, so giving ourselves a few more calories at the weekend than we would normally have, even though we always bank calories, you're going to consume a bit more food. You're going to consume a bit more liquid. If you're going out for a meal, you're probably going to be consuming a few more refined carbs than you would normally have. If you have even one glass of wine, that is going to dehydrate the body, which will increase water retention. All these things will show on the scales on a Monday morning. The scale, I get it so many times. Neil, I was in a deficit all week and the scales have gone up on Monday. Yeah, because over the weekend, you've had more salt, you've had a bit of alcohol, even within your calories, you've had more refined carbs, and you've had a little bit more volume of food because you've banked some extra calories. That will show on the scales on a Monday morning. What a lot of people do is they put 2 and 2 together and get 5. And this is, I think, another reason why we have a really unhealthy relationship with social lives and weight loss, because people are like, oh, it's took me 6 weeks to lose 6 pounds. I've enjoyed my friend's wedding and I'm 6 pounds heavier in 2 days. You're 6 pounds, your weight's gone up 6 pounds, not your body fat. You can't gain 6 pounds of body fat in a weekend. I'm not saying it's physically impossible, but it's flipping hard to do, right? You have to eat 20,000 calories more than you've burnt, right, to gain that over a weekend. It ain't happening. But we just see weight gain as fat gain, and it doesn't work like that. Leave the scales alone on a Monday. Even if you stick to your ideal deficit, the scales will probably go up on a Monday. If you choose to have a smaller calorie deficit, the scales will go up on a Monday. If you choose to stick to maintenance calories, the scales will go up on a Monday. If you choose to have, the scales will go up on a Monday. The scales going up show an increase in weight. They don't show an increase in fat. Calories in, calories out only affect fat gain and fat loss, right? You stick to your maintenance calories, the scales might go up 3 pounds through excess food weight, water retention, right? But they won't have gone up through body fat. You get back into your normal eating pattern Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Your body sort of returns to normal. Get on the scales Friday and you're back down to where you were or a little bit lighter. So, positive mindset. Positive mindset for periods of time for weight loss. Positive mindset for busy periods where life might feel a bit overwhelming to try and fit it into a weight loss journey. Good bit of planning each week for how you're going to tackle each event, depending on how you want that event to be. Compromise event, smaller deficit week, so on and so forth. And last but by no means least, don't get near the scales on a Monday, because you'll be like, I put all this effort in, I'm positive, I've made the compromise, I've banked extra calories, I had a flipping side salad instead of deep fried calamari, I had the chicken arrabbiata instead of the carbonara because it was less calories, and I split a tiramisu with my partner, and I've still gained 3 pounds. You will. Leave the scales alone on a Monday. Weight gain is not fat gain. I think I've definitely done that in a podcast. If not, I'll have a scan through. I'll do one. Right, that's it for this one. That is how to tackle a social life with a weight loss journey. You've got to mould life and weight loss together. And it can be done, because I've done it all my life. I've been at this 11 years. My first weight loss phase, it took me 3 years, 9 months to lose 250 pounds. If I'd not had a social life, if I'd not found that balance, I might have lost 250 pounds in 2 years instead of 3 years, 9 months. The trade-off of enjoying life while losing weight was it took me a little bit longer to maybe get to my goal. But the honest truth is, if I hadn't integrated life into my weight loss journey, would I have even stuck to it for 2 years? Would I have even hit my goal? Absolutely not, because I'll have felt overly restricted, wouldn't have been sustainable, and I would have crashed and burned way before losing 250 pounds. That's it. That is the end of this podcast. Until next time, enjoy your social events while bossing your weight loss.